Our meeting is now open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Linda from Massachusetts. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the amazing readings tonight. They really touched me, and the music as well. I'm so grateful for what I'm learning here. It is really helping me stay focused and alert to when my peace and my joy is slipping away. I'm learning how to catch it. And this morning, after I did my praying and prepared for my day, I heard a report about the election results that was much different than what I heard before I went to bed the night before. And I immediately felt disturbed. And I have been really working on this because I have noticed that I was becoming attached to a certain outcome whenever I would think about this. And so I would remind myself often that God is my good and my only good, not a person, a president, a party, or a country, or anything. God is my only good, my only source of good. And so I went out for a walk, and I worked a lot while I was walking with some of the daily treatment statements, and just trying to focus and lift myself out of this place of reaction. And I also remembered something I'd heard here: "Be thou my vision, O Lord of my life." So I was praying for God's vision and to see this differently. And finally, about 30 minutes into my walk, a thought came that I had heard here also, which was, when you're hurt or upset, are you bleeding bitterness or sweetness? And I realized that I was not bleeding sweetness. And then another thought came right after that from something I heard from Florence in a testimony a while ago, mentioning about how a smile can make a difference to people, and how she had offered a smile somewhere, and some woman had said that her smile was beautiful and it offered her hope. And so I immediately started, instead of focusing on myself, the people walking by. And as I walked by, I smiled at them. And within just a few minutes, I started feeling peaceful. And I started praying for the other candidates and wishing them every blessing. And by the time I got home, I just felt so much better, so much lighter and happier. And so I'm so thankful for what I'm learning here. And I'm thankful to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, Arizona.
Jim from Arizona. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Today I have been not out of the house one moment other than to feed my feathered friends, where I spent the whole day working with how important it is on the phrase from the Lord's Prayer, "Thy will be done," as it relates to the current political situation in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joanne, Florida.
Joanne from Florida. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Fairley, for those beautiful readings. The other week, for no physical reason at all, a large rash suddenly appeared under my left breast. The whole area was irritated and very painful and sore, so I asked a practitioner from this church for help. One thing that I'm learning is there's always a spiritual lesson to be gained when we ask for practitioner help. As the practitioner was praying for me, it came to me to make sure there was no irritation or resentment toward anyone or anything in my thought, whether it be another person or a project I had or this current presidential campaign. The next day, the pain had lessened somewhat, but the rash was still very red, and I still wasn't able to wear normal clothing. So I asked the practitioner to continue to help. As I was praying, a verse from Mrs. Eddy's poem kept coming to me. "Thou wilt bind the stubborn will, wound the callous breast, Make self-righteousness be still. Break earth's stupid rest. As I took these 4 needed lessons to heart, the pain and discomfort from the rash disappeared, and I was soon able to wear normal clothes again. I'm very grateful to the practitioner for this physical healing, but I'm even more grateful for those deep needed lessons, especially to never be irritated with anyone or anything, for even a little irritation is hate. This whole experience brought me closer to God. Mrs. Eddy's pure Christian Science teaching that I've received here in this church has filled my life with an abundance of God's love and healing good, and I'm so very grateful for it. I'm grateful to be here in the midst of God's love tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ingrid, California.
Ingrid from California. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Thank you for the great readings. I want to express my gratitude for all what Divine Mind guides all the time, especially for my work here in Los Angeles with the houseless people. It's so beautiful. The little I can do is always just because Divine Mind guides me to everything that I need to know, to everything where I need to go. It's just so wonderful and amazing, and I always declare that, of course, that's for all beings, even human and non-human beings, for all the earth. This always has this guidance for a perfect performance, and so it is for just everything that happens with us. And very grateful to have great articles like in these times. So many people talk about how bothered they are or irritated, as the great testimony before. And this article on Disturb, it helped me so much when I started studying Christian Science. That's over 4 decades ago. I had this wonderful inspiration to read that article every day, and I did it for 2 years, and every day we'll do it. And it just got so much of the stuff that we learn in a wrong way. You're bothered, you're mad, you're disturbed, you know, that's all that we grow up hearing, all that stuff. And it was such a wonderful blessing to just take on that and read it every day. And of course, still today, I keep it around and read it. And it's been a joy to be able to share with other people that great Undisturbed article. And it's really so wonderful how all we need for whatever we need to work out or whatever healing, we already have it with the wonderful Bible and with the great writings of Mary Beckett, in the hymns, and of course in your amazing, wonderful website. Thank you so much to all of you for that great gift to humanity and all the efforts that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy.
I am very grateful tonight for God bringing me to this church and for Christian Science, which has turned my life into one worth living. Before Plainfield, I used to worry a lot about the fact that I could never account for all the variables that might affect the life and safety of both myself and my children. It used to really trouble me. Coming here, I have learned that God is in control of everything. And for a while, I thought that meant that He knew all the variables and would warn us of them. Lately, I've gained a different understanding of this with the following 2 quotes. The first is from James 1:17. Quote, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." End quote. And second, Martha Wilcox wrote on page 216 of Addresses, quote, "It is incorrect, not to say foolish, for a Christian scientist to imagine all sorts of evil and then proceed to work against the creations of his own imagination. Evil or error or belief is not something, but is always nothing," end quote. Made me realize that God is in such control that there are no variables. There is only truth, life, and love. Anything else is error, and that includes imagining there's any variableness to God's creation, which I did all the time before coming here. So I have such peace today because of that. And I'm so grateful for Christian Science, for all this church offers, for practitioner support, all of which are working together to correct my wrong thinking and increase my ability to see God's goodness everywhere, every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
I'd like to tell of an experience I had. It was a few years ago, and I've mentioned this before, but it's something I'm so grateful for and will never forget. It's the healing of bursitis. One day I woke up and I had a pain in one of my shoulders, and I had a lot of physical work to do that day, and which I started. But every time I tried to lift my arm above my shoulder, I had an extreme pain, and I literally could not lift my arm any higher. Fortunately, I was able to call a Christian Science practitioner from this church for help. And the thing that I remember the most was the love that I felt from that practitioner. It was the love of God. It enveloped me. I don't know how else to say it. I felt so comforted and so confident that God was right there and God could take care of us. I was given some statements from Science and Health. One, that matter can make no conditions for man. And I was told that the divine mind, God, governs the actions of the body. And another statement was that health is not a condition of matter, but of mind. And I was encouraged to turn my focus away from the material evidence of the human body and turn it to God, the divine mind that is my being. And that gave me something to think about and to pray about. And in a very short time, the pain left. I was able to move my arm freely, and the condition never returned. I'm so grateful for this experience, for this one more proof that God does in fact love us and heals us of everything and anything. So grateful for the help that I have received and for all that I'm learning about Christian Science in this church. It's so good to be with you all tonight.
Thank you.
Pam, Virginia.
Pam from Virginia. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. I cannot begin to express enough gratitude for this church. It is a gift from God to help us through these stormy times in our country. I have had to go back today to everything that I have been learning to help lift my thought up and get past the present outcome of our nation's elections, to be able to work correctly for our dear country. I can honestly say without this church and all that I have learned here, I would find these times very hard to mentally cope with. But the unity and love expressed here and the invaluable website, the practitioners, the Bible studies, and roundtable discussions are like a beacon light guiding us home. Thank you, Fairley, for the encouraging readings and for the beautiful music and all the testimonies. Good evening.
Thank you.
Debbie, Illinois.
Debbie from Illinois. Go ahead, please.
The daily calendar message for October 27th was, quote, "Money, position, food, and clothing are just as omnipresent as health. All are oneness with mind," end quote, by Herbert Eustace. I have been striving to demonstrate over a physical situation, so I switched this statement around. Health is just as omnipresent as money, position, food, and clothing. All are oneness with mind. This change in the statement allowed me to apply my firm, unwavering understanding of God's ever-present and abundant supply to my health. I had been working with this statement on a daily basis. A few days later, I was notified by my bank that some transfer of funds which I initiated were canceled by them. I spoke to a number of representatives, and the information that they gave me made no sense, but they stood firm that I needed to find another way to move the money. I thought about other ways to do this, but none were adequate, so I re-added the transfer transactions into their system. As I went over the transactions, I learned that if the funds were not transferred, I might incur some fees. I had spent quite a bit of time, and without a solution, I became unsettled and said to myself, okay, that's enough. It was that familiar, disruptive sense of mortal mind taking hold. Not coincidentally, this happened at the exact time I was scheduled to do my personal watch. I almost went along with the disrupted sense and didn't watch. Thankfully, I was able to recognize this as mortal mind and did watch. While holding on to the truth, I was still not at peace. Again, thankfully, this happened on Wednesday. I listened to our wonderful church service. There were 3 new callers during the service, and I was able to smile and be grateful for their involvement. Also, a testimony was given about God's supply of funds when needed to pay a bill. I was uplifted, but still not peaceful. All during the night, I prayed to let go of the situation. Finally, God's peaceful sense came over me, and I was able to stop thinking about the details and know that God makes things work out. I was tempted to get up in the middle of the night and look on my computer, but I said, no, the morning will be soon enough. Finally, I was able to sleep. In the morning, I went about my normal activities before looking at my computer for the transactions, all the time knowing that God is in control. During my morning activities, everything I touched or encountered, I recognized as given to me by God. I knew this would flow over into these transactions. When I looked on the computer, the transactions were present and in their rightful status. I was able to recognize that all of this was mortal mind's attempt to get me to doubt my firm, unwavering understanding of God's ever-present and abundant supply. If I would have let mortal mind make me believe that financial supply was in jeopardy, then my premise of health being just as omnipresent as money, position, food, and clothing would have been flawed and put a crack in my foundation of truth. I'm starting to put the science of Christian Science into practice, believing that, quote, progress is the law of God, whose law demands of us only what we can certainly fulfill, unquote, and that's from Science and Health on page 233. I'm moving forward with joy out of the desert and into the land of milk and honey. I'm so very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angie, Nebraska.
Angie from Nebraska. Go ahead, please.
Hi. Thank you for your reading tonight. My name is Sandy, and I'm so grateful for Christian Scientist Independent. My remarks are about your church. We are a large group of Christian Scientists, and I'm here in Nebraska, but I'm original from Charlotte. And for so many years, we've been trying to follow the tenets of the Mother Church. And we became just the students doing the readings, but through a couple years now, like I think almost a year or so, I've been listening to Independence, and I give my testimony last week. I'm original from South America, like I said before. The blessing that we have received, I had no complaints for the divine mind. We all live in wonderful life, but we needed direction from the Father and lead us to your church. Tremendous the impact that you guys have in so many. After I told them about the testimony, that everybody, they listen right now. Some are listening, some they listen after the day or two. We are so happy and so grateful, especially for Mr. Gary, the one that spread his testimony prior. We know his voice. We are so grateful that we're home. I think it's like going to be an avalanche of Christian Scientists from Charlotte. We are so happy. We are so grateful because you guys do the work the way Miss Mary Baker intended. The round table, the love, the willingness to explain in a common way so young Christian Scientists can feel a place that we can go. We do our lessons. We know what we need to do. We don't worry about the political. It's the government of God. We need to take our mind for what's going on outside. It's happening outside. It's not happening in the mind of God. It is not happening in the mind of God. It's not happening. It's the dream. People are dreaming right now. But we know this is the government of God. We don't have to, as Christian Scientists, it's the right for us to know. That's what Mary Baker already said. And the love of possession and the love of a judgment. We don't have to worry about it. It's the government of God. And all things are in the right place at the right time. We just need to do is take our mind for what's going on. You know, it's the sense or it's our country, my country. No, it's the country of God. It's the government of God. And the divine mind will decide. Our job as Christian Scientists is to do our lessons, to be in constant prayer. That's how we bless. We are here to bless. I'm so grateful for Miss Beth, for Miss Florence. So many people are listening because we needed that guidance correctly. We don't have to worry. It's the government of God. It's the country of God. We are brothers and sisters. It's only one mind. And the mind is the mind that was in Christ Jesus. That's what the Apostle Paul said. I'm so grateful for Miss Beth, for Mr. Gary, for all of you in your church, because you are helping so many Christian Scientists that we feel that we're home finally with Christian Scientists Independent. Thank you for your reading, for the beautiful hymn. And let the glory and the divine love surround us all around tonight, the next day, and the next day after this political season. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shardy, go ahead, please.
Good evening. And yes, thank you for the wonderful readings. I would like to share a healing I had in 1994. I thought of it, which I have in the past for a long time. We were talking about winter the other day, and I remembered it again. It was the first time I prayed for myself and had a quick healing. I remember that it was 1994 because I was teaching school then, and we had a huge storm in January, and the schools were closed off and on for almost 3 weeks. I was able to do a lot of study with science and health in particular. It was wonderful. One day, when I was alone in the house and had been studying most of the day, I realized that if I didn't go out and do some ice chipping at the end of the driveway, it would be too dark soon. We lived on a very steep hill, and I began chipping away at the ice with a long tool, when suddenly my feet went flying out from under me, and I crashed onto the ice with the back of my right hand hitting the ice and the stones first. I was stunned, and my hand started to hurt and started to swell. I don't remember what I did with the tool, but I did notice that it was getting dark and there was no one around. I went right into the house and to my study. As I sat down, I thought, if I understand anything that I have been reading and working with in science and health, I know that I am unhurt and safe. I do not remember how long I sat quietly, but when I looked at my hand, the pain was gone, along with the swelling and discoloration that had been there. Now, here it is, 2020, and I am happy to be working for God, our leader, and mankind at the Plainfield Christian Science Church, Independent. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight and the music. Last night we had one of our weekly watches, and I was very touched by the beautiful prayer that was written, so many, every week after week. But what stood out to me was that no matter what was going to go on around us, this church's work was going to continue, and our duty to God, to our leader, and to mankind. And it made me think about how grateful I was for this church since coming here and all that I've been learning, and for all the physical, mental, relationship, work, financial, and many more healings that I've had and seen others experience. It's very good to be here where faith, hope, and joy are the standard, and where Jesus' teachings are lived daily, and Mrs. Eddy's mission and teachings are clearly and correctly presented. I'm so grateful to be learning daily practical ways I am not a victim, and to be gaining dominion over things that endlessly worried me in the past, because I'm learning more about God. I'm grateful for access to so many wonderful reading materials that can't be accessed in other places, that are filled with so many memoirs and facts of Mrs. Eddy and her love for all people, her love for prayer, the Bible, and God. I'm grateful to be where there's support given so you could be your best self that God has created, and to have a new sense of purpose in the mission of sharing healing with the world. I'm continually grateful for all the testimonies week after week that encourage and show that Christian Science has an answer to all problems, and for the love and goodwill that I see here expressed and feel that is impartial and universal. And most of all, I'm grateful to be gaining a new relationship with God after so many years of searching for answers and meanings. Thank you very much for this beautiful church.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally, for the important readings tonight. I have a testimony from Australia. It says that my husband and I would like to express our gratitude for the discovery of Christian Science hymns found on the internet. Last night we needed a bit of a lift,
and feeling unsettled about the world news, we turned to looking up a hymn 350 from the Unity Watch, October 31st, 2020, and we found the hymn being sung from the Plainfield congregation. It was so beautiful. To our surprise, we found all of our most loved hymns there too. We spent quite a bit of time singing together and listening to the hymns. Then our son joined us and participated too. It was delightful. Gratitude abounds for the Plainfield site and all the hymns that we found. I'm very grateful to be here tonight, and I'm grateful that through science I have learned that there is a Christ available to all men, and that God is no respecter of persons. I am so grateful that as we live consistently daily with the truth of God's allness, our thinking becomes more of the truth. We hear more of the comforting truth from Him. And to the extent that instead of the negating voice that can attempt to rebut our glimpses of truth, we find ourselves hearing effective, powerful truth, silencing the negative thoughts that try us. An example came to me some time ago when I started worrying about a relative, their behavior and their safety and where they might be. All kinds of scenarios came, clouding my thinking, but right about when I was about to go down, feel bad about that, I heard clearly, "Can I not police what is yours?" These beautiful few words just touched me. It completely silenced the otherwise foolish sense of fear that would have overcome me. I am so grateful for that. What makes me even more grateful, and humbly so, is the extent to which Christ, our shepherd, tenderly cares for our every need. For everyone new, be comforted. In our textbook, page 494, Mrs. Eddy writes, "Divine love always has met and always will meet every human need." It is not well to imagine that Jesus demonstrated the divine power to heal only for a select number or for a limited period of time, since to all mankind and in every hour, divine love supplies all good. It assures me, and I read it a lot because it assures me that God will always care for every need and will keep me only where He wants me to be, with all I need to do my work for Him. And this is true for everyone. It moves me to think of such tender care, and it fills my heart with immense gratitude. I am grateful for God, Christ Jesus, Mary Baker Eddy, and all, desiring that this truth reaches mankind everywhere to comfort all. Happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary?
This is from our church website bulletin board, the First California. I love the testimony from the woman who said she was originally from South America. Someone gave her Signs in Health 19 years ago. That someone may never know the path and blessings of the gift. It reminded me, if I tell someone about Christian Science or give them an article, my job is done. The Christ Spirit may be changing lives from my sharing. Thank you to the woman. Next, I remember the testimony about the sun rising and setting. It doesn't do that, but it appears to. Just as a stubborn situation in our life appears so real and a part of us. But it's an illusion. Thank you. And then Florida. Isn't it wonderful that we can have such joyous and fresh gospel music for our solos? Thank you, singers. That was such an uplifting solo today, and that was this past Sunday. And Illinois, I'm grateful for God's unlimited resources, one of which is our church website and the YouTube channel. During prayer, I was led to the verse, quote, "From sense to soul, my pathway lies before me," end quote, on our website. I was able to find that verse in the first line of hymn 64, and I am able to listen to this hymn being sung during a church service on our YouTube channel. So wonderful to be able to print the words of this hymn and listen to it so I can study and sing it throughout the day. With much love. And then this is a couple of things from a friend in Texas. She says, "Thank you and all Plainfield family for all you do to keep the light of Christian Science burning bright. I have sent many to your website. Yay, Jeremy. And I myself am there daily. Your sacrifices and love are so appreciated." And then this is also from our friend in Texas. And this is after she had, I guess, listened to our new friend, Miss Sandy, who gave a testimony last week. And this woman writes, "Note to self, do not listen to Plainfield testimonies while putting on makeup in the morning." Ha, ha. That was one of the sweetest meetings ever. And I cried when the lady from South America told her story. I will listen to it again soon after my makeup is on. I am so grateful for your outreach. It gives me hope and courage to continue working and watching for the world, even though we don't always see much good happening, but it is going on. Give my love to everyone in the Plainfield family. They are so appreciated for all they do. Much love from Texas. And then this is a watch that someone in Hawaii wrote. She wrote it a while ago, but it's very appropriate for now. I'll read some of it. This is a quote from the book of Numbers. "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Let us know that the Lord always does bless, see, and keep each and every one of his children, no matter what outer circumstances seem to indicate. God's love is always shining and granting peace. Tranquility, love, graciousness, wellness, wholeness, holiness on every level are pure reflections of Spirit, God good. This kind of care is something that can be trusted, something to lean upon, salvation, Christ rock. So it is, so it will continue to be, and so it has always been. Thank you, Fairley, for those beautiful readings tonight. Such a good, appropriate on humility, something we all can use more of, I'm sure. I know I can. I was very grateful in our lesson this week. This is a paraphrase. I didn't bring my Science and Health with me, but it's where Mrs. Eddy says that it's impossible to lose aught what God gives when he is eternally ours. But it's just that idea that whatever God gives, it's impossible to lose. You can't lose it if it's given to you by God. This is a declaration of our oneness with God. And I know how much the statement has helped me, whether I felt I might have lost health, finances, relationship, an election, whatever it claims to be, whatever loss it claims to come. If it's from God, it cannot be lost because he is forever ours. And as was so beautifully said in many ways tonight, all good comes from him. And certainly the government is on his shoulder. In Bigdal Young's article, If We Say I Want, he says a very important and profound statement. And it is this: if we say I want, we obscure I am. The only I there is cannot want. Man is in a state of possession, not of desire. When we set aside I want, then I am is present.